Boy, you can learn a lot from reading the Washington Post, as I did this morning. Opened it up to learn that Jews are under an enormous amount of violence from right-wing, I can't even say, easy for me to say, right-wing white nationalists in America, and it's all Trump's fault. That comes out of the Washington Post. Of course, the truth is just the opposite. Yes, and nobody's documented this more than I have. Jews are under attack and threat in this country. The overwhelming danger to Jewish people in Jewish neighborhoods is from the fellas and their lovely ladies. So I just went back to a couple of my books. I grabbed a couple of links, grabbed a couple of videos, and this is just a really brief snapshot of some stories as to the violence against Jews in Jewish neighborhoods that somehow the Washington Post still to this day has never really gotten around to reporting.
I just came from a fucking precinct 2 days ago. I'm going to kill every fucking Jew on this Apple Bank sidewalk.
And you're still going to jail.
For what? For what? For what? For walking in a fucking Crown Heights? Suck my dick. I live in Crown Heights. They're not Jewish. Yo, call my mother. I live on Carroll, Albany, and Troy between. Cuff me today.
Stay back.
Can you loosen my cuff? Don't go nowhere. You can get out the car. I live right down the block. Do not move. I live right down the block. The fuck out my pockets, pussy. The fuck out my pockets, pussy. Yo, they not real cops. Do not listen to a Jew.
Police in Brooklyn are looking into a series of attacks on Jews. At least one attack caught on camera. And as CBS 2's John Slattery reports from Crown Heights, some of the assaults may be part of a disturbing game.
This is one of the groups that police would like to locate. Watch. A Jewish man in the hooded jacket gets punched. Here it is from another angle. And this man, who didn't want to be identified, says his 12-year-old son was attacked in the same way.
Clearly anti-Semitism.
This 64-year-old man says his 12-year-old son in Jewish clothing was attacked last Wednesday afternoon on President Street.
One full strength with his fist whacked him, punched him right on the side of the face, full force.
The child went to the ground as he heard the group of 5 or 6 teens yell out.
A hysterical, happy shout, "We got him!"
The 19-year-old Jewish teenager wearing the jacket was sucker punched.
He actually was holding an expensive camera, and they punched him and nothing was stolen.
Rabbi Yaakov Behrman believes the assaults are part of a disturbing game by some African-American teens.
And they're playing this game knock out the Jew, maybe, and they're going around the neighborhood punching Jews.
He says that in the last 2 months there have been assaults and 3 incidents of graffiti. The police confirm it.
I think it's a total of 8 since September, the middle of September.
The incidents are being investigated by the police hate crimes task force. The hope is that the suspects in the pictures will be identified. In Crown Heights, Brooklyn, John Slattery, CBS 2 News.
Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hikind says the attacks are not muggings, that it's not about money. He says the victims are being attacked because they are Jews.
Another disturbing story to tell you about hate crime charges filed tonight against 4 people, including 2 teenagers, for targeting Jews in Rockland County. One man attacked and beaten last night. It happened in the town of Ramapo. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is there for us. Marcus.
And Bill, police and prosecutors say there's little doubt this was a hate crime based on statements made by the suspects themselves and outlined in these court documents in which the suspects allegedly say they were out to, quote, rob a Jew. One by one, they were arraigned this afternoon. 4 suspects charged in the assault and attempted robbery of a Hasidic 19-year-old, a crime that, according to police, was not a random act of violence.
This individual was specifically targeted because he was Jewish.
It happened just before midnight in Muncie. Police say 2 of the suspects jumped the victim from behind and demanded money, hitting the teen with the blade of a double-edged dagger. The victim was spared serious injury because that knife was in a protective sheath. Still a harrowing ordeal for the victim, who doesn't want to be identified.
I saw the swing coming, And I was ready for the attack, so it didn't hurt me that much. And I turned around. It hurt me a little bit. I was dizzy. I had a headache.
I thought it was from the TV. I heard, "Help! Help!"
Police have arrested 18-year-old Stanley Joseph, 19-year-old Quasi Williams, and 20-year-old Jennifer St. Amand, who they say was driving the getaway car. A fourth man, Marco Blandino, is accused of providing the weapon used in the assault. Today, community activists and classmates of the victims expressed outrage.
Such a story like this, I think, people walking out on the street tonight, 11 o'clock at night, will probably have a different approach than what they had, say, 24 hours ago.
Here's a story of a dude being mugged during Hurricane Sandy in Crown Heights. From there, why don't we do a couple minutes worth of the mother of all black on Jewish violence. It's from 1991, where you listen to the reporters here, and they're very careful to do the moral equivalence thing. It's like, well, tensions are high between black people and Jews. No, black people went into Jewish neighborhoods and started beating, killing, and threatening people and destroying property, all because of a car accident.
Between Hasidic Jews and blacks have run high before, and last night a deadly accident there triggered violence. Mobs ran through Crown Heights. Rocks and bottles were thrown, shots fired. It all happened after a car driven by a Hasidic Jew jumped a curb. A 7-year-old black girl on a bicycle was killed. Her 7-year-old cousin seriously injured. The driver was beaten. Some people in the crowd charged that a private ambulance tended only to the driver and not to the children.
The private ambulance arrived just shortly before, about the same time as an EMS city ambulance.
Also in the neighborhood last night, an Hasidic man was stabbed to death in what...
Man was stabbed to death. Well, there were riots on and off throughout the day right now. The police about 2 hours ago pulled back from a perimeter area at President and Utica where most of that bottle throwing took place, and they are now in position away from that area right now. It is hoped that cooler heads will prevail, and it is also hope that this cool rain will cool heads, and eventually tomorrow things will clear up around here, although there's a great deal of hostility and a good deal of anger, and I don't think this is over yet.
Here's a woman from a few months ago in that area going, when are people going to start talking about this ridiculous level of violence against Jewish people from black people in Crown Heights, in this section of Brooklyn? They kicked her off Facebook for saying that.
Acts of violence becoming all too common. Members of a Brooklyn community say this vicious attack in Crown Heights is just one instance of innocent victims being turned into targets. News 4's Ray Vieta is there with the latest in a string of suspected hate crimes.
That apparent random attack happened in the middle of the day. Surveillance video shows a man running into this dry cleaners trying to get to safety. Behind him, a teen with a tree limb trying to hit him. That's when the community jumped in. A startling sight in Crown Heights at a dry cleaners. A man running for cover, for safety into this store as a teen, police say, chases him with a tree branch.
It broke into like 3 pieces. And the other part that he threw ended up hitting me on my arm.
It happened Monday afternoon. The victim, an Orthodox Jewish man. The suspect, a teenager. The assault being investigated as a hate crime.
This shouldn't happen again. It was a scary incident yesterday, but thank God the victim, thank God, wasn't hurt too badly.
Surveillance cameras not only captured the attack as it happened, but the cleaner's owner, his son, and another young man chased after the teen. They caught up to him at a nearby park, held him down for police.
It was a scary moment. I mean, it's an instinct that we kicked in and we chased after the perpetrator.
The attack is the second one in 2 days. On Sunday morning, a Jewish man on his way to a synagogue was beaten in the middle of the street in Borough Park. The suspect in that beating was captured.
These disgusting acts of violence and hate have absolutely no place in our city.
Tuesday afternoon, 24 hours after the Crown Heights assault, local leaders gathered at the site denouncing hate. The Anti-Defamation League says in 2018 alone, there have been 11 anti-Semitic assaults, 8 of which happened in Brooklyn.
More needs to be done because people are hurting and there's fear.
Now a teenager faces hate crime charges, a community feeling under attack, calling for unity on its streets.
The fact that you see me and him standing together, we're all standing together, that's a testimony of what Crown Heights is all about.
Okay, so here's the weird part. In Crown Heights, Jewish people are victims of black violence just about daily. A lot of it on video. When Jewish people speak out about it, they're shunned on Facebook, kicked off Facebook. And yet here we have, this just happened a few weeks ago, this last example. We had a black guy running around Crown Heights, bunking people over the head with a tree branch or a board, chasing Jewish people around the streets. The next day they have a press conference on the streets telling everybody how much they're down with the cause, they're down with the fellas, and everything is okay now. We don't have to worry about it because black people and Jewish people are big buddies in Crown Heights. I'm sorry, that's a big fat lie. The most notorious thing I can think of in Crown Heights was when this came to a head about a year or so ago, when the city councilwoman who represents that area, her name is Laurie Cumbo, she went on her Facebook page, and we've talked about this here many times, she went on her Facebook page to say, the reason there's so much black on Jewish violence is because black people feel Jewish people are not sharing their success, and that's why there's so many examples of the knockout game, so much violence. At some point, people who live in Crown Heights and all around the country who are victims of this black on Jewish violence are going to have to start telling the truth about it. They're going to have to start condemning these ridiculous stories, ridiculous stuff we see in the Washington Post and every other major national media in this country, that somehow racist white nationalists are going around committing violence on Jews, when it's the overwhelming amount of violence directed at Jews comes from the fellas and their lovely ladies in this country. Documented it many, many times in my books, articles, and videos. It's not something you'll see in the Washington Post because they don't want to make the black kids angry.